Hello. Welcome to the Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship, fondly known as BUF. I'm Tom Nicholas, and I'm the celebrant for today's service. And we're so glad that you have chosen to come today during the summer. And if you're on Zoom, we cordially welcome you and are glad for your presence. Our summer services are coordinated by Barbara Wells Ten Hove, and in fact, she's going to be leading today's service. Paul Beckel, a regular minister, takes a break from preaching during the summer. The most important thing about BUF is the people who form its congregation. But BUF does have a wonderful building, and somehow it feels important to me to know about the building that we're meeting in and that we're using as our base. And so anyway, if you're interested in learning more about our building, Judy Casper is going to lead a building tour after the service. Judy is holding up a sign, and there she is. So if you want to learn more about our building, please go on the tour with Judy after the service. Also, after today's service, there'll be a coffee hour downstairs. There's always a coffee hour. Some people really enjoy that. Some people, I've heard, dread that. It kind of depends on if you're an extrovert or an introvert, I guess. But we have a tradition at BUF to, if you're new to the congregation, you can there's these red cups, and you can take a red cup. It's not a scarlet letter thing. It just means that you're new to the congregation. And if you are holding a red cup, then someone, an experienced member of BUF, will come up to you and make you feel at home and answer any questions you might have about BUF. I do want to issue a gentle challenge to experienced BUFsters to actually do that. The person in my position always says that if you're holding a red cup, somebody will come up to you and talk to you and welcome you. But I just want to issue a challenge to actually follow through and for us to actually do that. Okay, and then also I want to tell our families that there's an excellent children's program today. It's nice to see so many kids today in the sanctuary. Young people over the age of 2 are welcome to join our teen child care providers upstairs after, and there's a point in the service where we're going to sing them away. So our hope is that you feel at home as you participate in today's service. And, but what does it mean to feel at home? Well, I just happen to have a song about that explores that topic of what it means to feel at home. And Jocko and I are going to play that for you right now. Home's the place where you feel like you belong. Hey, you feel like you belong. Wonder if I can get there by singing this song. Hey, home's the place where there's nothing left to say. Well, find the place where the future fits the past. Hey, the future fits the past. Oh, then you'll know you found your home at last. Oh, hold the past, but reach for something more. Hey, reach for something more. I want my home to have an open door. Well, when I got home, I'd been there all along. Oh, I've been there all along. I didn't know where I was until I sang this song. No, I didn't know where I was until I sang this song.
All right, well, thank you, Tom and Jocko. I love having like a band over here. I feel so special. Well, good morning. I want to add my welcome to Tom's as we gather and worship here this morning at Buff. As an affiliated minister, retired here in Bellingham, it's a joy for me to serve as your summer Sunday services coordinator and to occasionally share my thoughts with you in a service, as I'm doing today. Now, as some of you may know, I'm what I like to call a homebred Unitarian Universalist, meaning I grew up in our faith. Anybody else grew up in our faith? Yes, woohoo. Homebred, we count homebred if you started like by the time you were in youth group. If you were in a UU youth group, you count as homebred. I'm looking at you. And because of that, I've spent a lifetime exploring and engaging with what our religion teaches and tries to live out in the world. And this morning, I hope to share with you a bit about why I think our religion matters. Now, last Sunday, after the service was over, we all learned how the political landscape had changed, and we are, of course, wondering what it all means. Now, it's a lot, and I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but at present, we are here together in this beloved, deeply religious community, doing what we can to make a difference for our children and our children's children. And for that, let us give great and glorious thanks, which we are going to do in song. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to sing a line, you're going to sing it back. No need to look at hymn books, no need to do anything. All you have to do is listen to me and repeat what I say. So let's stand up and sing this lovely song, Oh, We Give Thanks. And here we go. My turn. Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious day.
For all gathered here.
For all gathered here.
And those far away.
Those far away.
For this time we share.
For this time we share.
With love and care.
With love and care.
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious
All right, let's do it again as if we really mean it this time. Okay, now you know it. Sing it as if you mean it. So, oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious day.
For all gathered here.
For all gathered here.
And those far away.
Those far away.
For this time we share.
For this time we share.
With love and care.
With love and care.
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious day.
Didn't that feel good?
Oh, sorry. I always forget Barbara and I are not the same height. The theme of today's service is Religion Matters, as Barbara suggested. And I want to take a moment here to briefly express my own sense of what it means for me to be religious. Religion, for some, includes having the faith that one's soul will continue to exist after death. That kind of knowledge, for me, is beyond human reach. I can make observations, and from those observations, I can identify patterns. I can have intuitions, and those intuitions can lead to deep insights. But I think that the deepest understanding of our world includes a sense that there's something in it that refuses to be completely encircled by any formulation that we make about it. There's some kind of mystery built into the world for me. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't make observations and identify patterns. It just means that we ought to treasure the value of humility. Life presents itself to us as a series of situations. And within each situation, for each person, there's the question, what part can and should I play here? What's my role? What's my place here, now, in this particular situation? If I can move through life holding that question in mind, I have a chance to actually touch life. And touching life is what being religious means to me. Please join me in reading the covenant, our covenant that we share as members of BUF. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service gives it life. Celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth, we work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant. And I forgot to say before we started reading that Tristan is lighting the chalice for us this morning. Thank you, Tristan.
There are words in the order of service for this next song. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. And the children will leave while we're singing this song, right? This is the sing away song today. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Once again, from you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
So every now and then, we take time in the service to celebrate and honor the joys and sorrows that are with us, that we carry in our hearts and don't often get a chance to ritually express. So the way this process will go is if you have a significant joy or sorrow that you wish to share, I invite you to come forward. I will hand you the mic. Please tell us your name so we can continue getting to know you. And very briefly, share your joy or sorrow. And then, after you've done so, you can place a stone in the water and then move off this direction. So if folks want to come line up on this side and move through this way, we'll keep things moving. So if you have a significant joy or sorrow that you wish to share, please feel free to come forward now.
Wendy, and I grew up in the First Universalist Society of Wakefield, Massachusetts, which a few weeks ago dissolved itself and is selling its building. It's been a Universalist, then Unitarian Universalist community since 1816. That's my sorrow.
I'm Lou Finney, and I actually have a joy and not exactly a sorrow, but the joy is that Bonnie and I just completed a month of travel through Istanbul, the islands of Greece, and a local excursion with our grandson through car museums and so forth for him. The other side of this, the negative side of this, is that one of the things that happens as one ages is the meniscus between your bones wears out. I'm facing hip replacement surgery next month.
I'm Noah, back with Joy. In about less than a month, I'm going to go out to Illinois and help my grandma pack up and then come and move out here to be with myself and my parents.
This is to remember a dear friend of ours, Joe Messenger, who we knew through other UU congregations for decades, and passed away about 6 months ago in another state. And we did not know about his memorial service, and somehow I think this makes me feel a little bit more complete, acknowledging who he was and that he is missed.
My name is Barbara Ellis Quinn. I have a joy and a sorrow also. Our joy is that our youngest daughter came to visit us for about 5 days a little while ago, and we don't see her very often, so that was wonderful. Spend time with her, cook with her, walk with her. Sorrow is a very good friend of ours who we just saw a few weeks ago in Seattle from Southern California, has been diagnosed with a potentially cancerous tumor in her uterus, and she has to have a hysterectomy this week.
Hello, my name is Mark. I got two brief joys to share. First of all, I'm so joyful that I have the courage not to conform to anything. Secondly, a little bit more serious, I am completely open and boasting about my autism.
Mark, do you want to put a stone in the pool? That's all right.
Hi, I'm Linda Twitchell. I grew up a Unitarian in Lawrence, Kansas, and I have a mixed situation going on. My younger sister is bipolar. She is about 60, and the good news is she is contacting her relatives and filling us in about what's going on, but she has a blood clot in her right leg extending from her foot all the way up to her hip. She's been in the hospital for a week and a half. They've done at least one procedure because I suspect of the tech problems hospitals are having. They've had to postpone a second procedure 3 times, so she's now been in the hospital for almost 2.5 weeks. But she's staying in contact with us, so this is good, and we wish her well.
Hi, I'm Michael, and my sorrow this month is that my grandma's Alzheimer's has gotten so bad. No, wait, it's dementia. Sorry, got mixed up. That was a different relative. My grandma's dementia has gotten so bad that earlier this month she forgot her own daughter's birthday, which is my mom. She hasn't realized yet. We haven't had the heart to tell her.
My name's Henry Ohana, and I have a joy, which is that Constance and I got married.
So you did. Hey, Hank, I think it deserves at least 2 stars. A big one, you know, go for it. Throw a handful in.
Hi, my name's Robin Stewart. I'm new here. My sorrow is my wife died 2 months ago after a year of dementia.
I will place a final stone in the water to remind us of all the joys and sorrows that live in our hearts but remain unexpressed. And now I invite you into a moment of prayerful reflection as Tom and Jocko sing Go in Peace.
Go. Go in peace. Go in kindness. Go in faith. Go with love. Day is done. Go in grace. Let us go into the dark. Not afraid, not alone. Let us hope by some good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Go in peace, go in kindness, go in love, go in grace, and leave the day behind us. Day is done. Go in grace. Let us go into the dark. Not afraid, not alone. Let us hope by some good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Safely to arrive at home.
Good morning. My name is Grace Nyblade. I use she, her pronouns, and I grew up in this religion, and in this building. I am the co-chair of Interweave, our LGBTQIA+ action group, and I am vice chair of the Social and Economic Justice Committee here at Buff. I'm also the middle of 3 generations of Buff members. I am heartbroken to draw our attention to the religious right and homophobic hate here in our Whatcom County. Just this month, at the end of Pride Festival, it was discovered in one of our public libraries that religious homophobic pamphlets had been put in the books associated with LGBTQIA+ people in both the children's section and the adult section. It was discovered by a 10th grader who notified the librarian and the local authorities. It's not a national issue, it's everywhere. I am so proud of our religion and our National Grand Assembly. The UUA passed a business resolution that may be the strongest bylaw of any religious organization to date. It states that on behalf of the member congregations and the communities of the UUA, we proclaim our principles and values, unequivocally commit our faith to honor and celebrate the full spectrum of gender identity and expression. Being transgender or identifying with any gender other than the one assigned at birth is a beautiful and divine manifestation of humanity, as is being intersex or having sex characteristics that vary from what is considered typical. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the inherent worthiness and dignity of each person as a core principle. The ability to live ever more authentically as one's true self is central to the lifelong journey towards spiritual fulfillment. The resolution continues and ends with "We hereby pledge our collective faithful efforts to the full affirmation and celebration of transgender, non-binary, intersex, and gender-diverse people within our congregations and within our wider community." We uphold this commitment as a fundamental obligation revealed by our principles and values. The Uplift newsletter from the UUA had this to say: "As we write, the ACLU is actively tracking 522 anti-LGBTQ laws in the 2024 US legislative session, which does not take into account the hundreds that have been passed over the past few years and the continued onslaught in the pipeline. It can be a frightening time to be trans and to love trans folks. There can be a giant sense of fear and overwhelm, which can make us feel like shutting down. We want to offer more ways to navigate these times. What if we don't let our own fears and isolation define our boundaries? What if we open our arms and our hearts wide to allow space for ourselves and for others to thrive? And we want to remind you that the heart of our UU theology is one of equity, is one of every single person being deserving of love and connection, of making sure that we all take care of each other, survive, and make space to thrive. In order to survive, trans, non-binary, and intersex communities need to connect and be part of communities of care. We know how to do that. We're good at this. We are Unitarian Universalists, people moved by our understanding of interconnectedness and human rights. People who offer pastoral care to each other, people who plan potlucks and worship, people who show up to town meetings and volunteer at elections and food pantries and more. We are imperfect and learning together, and we can keep creating the beloved community we want to see thrive. We come not only with fear, but with a true belief that community care can save lives. And Unitarian Universalists are capable of creating that reality. Your actions matter. You have the power to change the material and emotional realities of so many affected by these laws. With all of us together, there is so much we can do. If you want to know more, talk more, share more, come find us. Come find me. Come find Natalie Johnson. Or come to next week's Interweave meeting after the service. Thank you.
We've known Grace since she was a teenager, and it's just remarkable. No, it isn't remarkable. I am remarking upon it, how fabulous you are. Thank you so much. And let's sing again. I think Grace has awakened us to reflect and focus, and this hymn, Wake Now My Senses, very beautiful hymn. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. It's hymn number 298. Note that it has 5 verses, but they're short and they're wonderful, but there's 2 of them on the second page. So, and we're doing it on guitar, which is different, so you have to pay attention. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call, feel the deep power of being in all, keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new, join with all children who quest for the true. Honor all beauty and wisdom of God, suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now compassion, give heed to the cry, voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Bring out your great stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience with justice thy guide, join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted the privileged place, God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear, brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share, work for our planet, transformed by our care. I have always loved that hymn. The late UU minister Tom Mickelson wrote these beautiful words that invite us to open our hearts and our minds and our senses to justice and to spirituality and to do what we can to make a difference. And his marvelous and compelling words are put to a beautiful Irish melody, and it's a song that almost sings itself. Now, I admit that I'm a big fan of all things Irish. I went to Ireland with Jocko for the first time nearly 25 years ago, and then returned on a number of occasions, held in the beauty, the power, and the sadness of that special land. It's the only place other than Virginia, where I grew up, and the Northwest, particularly this area, that feels like home to me. Now, next week marks the celebration of Lunasa, which for many Irish people is the most important holiday to celebrate, more so than St. Patrick's Day. It's a moment in the pagan calendar when we recognize that first transition from summer toward the fall. And it's the time when the earliest harvesting happens. And I bet some of you have been harvesting those early fruits. And here, like here in Ireland, this time of year is usually beautiful and glorious, weather that you just want to go out in. It's fabulous. It's worth celebrating and claiming to be Irish for. Now, I asked you earlier how many of you were raised UU, but how many of you claim to be Irish? I mean, look around, friends, look around. That's a lot. Now, that doesn't surprise me. I discovered an Irish ancestor after our first visit, and Jocko has known for years that he had Irish roots. And given that Ireland claims people as diverse as Ronald Reagan and Muhammad Ali as native children, it shouldn't surprise us that a lot of us are Irish. As one Irish writer has written, the greatest export that came from Ireland was its people. Irish people love their country, but often leave it. For a small isle, it's seen far too much of pain and struggle, and much of that pain came about because of religion. It was very interesting for us to experience both the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland through our lens of liberal religion. One of the most compelling experiences we had on our last trip was attending a non-subscribing Presbyterian church. Non-subscribing Presbyterian church, which is the closest thing to a Unitarian congregation in Northern Ireland. That non-subscribing part might have given that away. There were about 12 people in that congregation. And those very few folks sitting in that church, they were living a different gospel than the one that was being preached in the more traditional Protestant and Catholic churches in that beleaguered land. They were trying, despite all the odds, to imagine a religious way of being that said yes to inclusivity and love, not separation and hatred. And I found them deeply inspiring. Standing up to dominant religious voices isn't easy, is it? I certainly felt so when I attended that church in Northern Ireland, as well as the Unitarian Church in Dublin. These religious communities are smack dab in the midst of a religious world that sees everything as pretty binary. If you are a particular sort of Irish person, you are a Catholic. Another sort, you are a Protestant. If you live in the Republic, Catholic voices dominate, but in Northern Ireland, the Protestant. Now, I could be talking about a lot of different places in the world where that is the case. You're this or you're that. But I'm using Ireland because it's the one I'm most familiar with. In Ireland, like so many of those places, if there are diverse religious voices, they're hardly noticed or recognized. Though the contrasts are much greater there, I couldn't help but notice how similar things are in our country, and how challenging it is to stand up to the strong religious voices that dominate. So this morning I want to talk about these religious matters, which are so current for us today. Until very recently, every Tuesday morning I drove or walked the short mile from my house to Whatcom Hospice House. If you're unfamiliar with it, Whatcom Hospice is the county-wide organization that deals with end-of-life care, mostly in people's homes. The Hospice House, however, is an inpatient 12-bed facility that serves the needs of people who can't easily die at home. I've been volunteering there for 6 years, and I have found it to be a very meaningful and powerful experience. I mostly deal with the patient's relatives and the staff who care for the dying. And I know how much this place means to the people who work there, volunteer there, and die there. And this incredible facility is owned and run by the Catholic Church. And friends, I struggle with that reality. For the same church that runs this place dedicated to helping people die well does not allow people to die there with dignity, even though it is the law of our land, this state, that people have that choice. If someone wants that option and they ask a staff member or a volunteer how to do so, we are not allowed to answer, except to point them to a physician's organization in the state that will give them that information. Home-based volunteers who may have been helping a dying person for weeks or even months are instructed that they have to leave the room and not stay in caring support of the patient if that patient makes the decision to end their life on their own terms. Now, when I went through the training at hospice as a volunteer, it was extraordinarily convoluted how they talked about this. You could hear the jargon that they had been taught that made it clear that though technically hospice welcomed all peoples and all beliefs, the Catholic dogma prevailed. And as a lifelong Unitarian Universalist, I struggle with this. It's why I'm taking a break from Hospice House right now. I had to just take a break. My faith teaches me that other religions and the people who follow them are worthy of our respect and understanding. My religion clearly recognizes that having folks who believe differently, that hating folks who believe differently is wrong on so many levels. My faith draws wisdom from and inspiration from world religions and from Jewish and Christian teachings, which are the foreparents of our religion. All of this is true. But does this mean that we as liberal religious people can't stand up to those who believe differently and speak to them from our faith perspective? When should we listen, learn, and respect? And when should we speak up, teach, and challenge? Now, I've been in the Unitarian Universalist ministry for almost 40 years. Next year is my 40th anniversary. And my father was a Unitarian Universalist minister before me, as is my husband and my brother-in-law, who incidentally was also my internship supervisor and went to seminary with my dad. Convoluted family. Now, one might say that Unitarian Universalist ministry is the family business. I was taught at my father's knee to reach across the barriers of religion and try to make positive things happen. So throughout my long career, I've always engaged with the interfaith community. I particularly remember how this unfolded right after 9/11, and it's helpful to know that Jocko and I were serving a close-in Maryland congregation at that time, and we knew people who died in the Pentagon and who died in the Trade Center. Well, since we were involved in a local interfaith group, Jocko and I knew these folks personally, and we could reach out to them directly. So just a day after that awful event, we gathered our interfaith community, including folks from the Jewish and Islamic communities, to create a deeply meaningful service of grief and hope. And I remember that experience as a powerful testament to what can happen when people of different faiths come together. And I also note that as Unitarian Universalist ministers, who, as I like to say, speak interfaith as a first language, Jocko and I were in the best position to make that event happen, and we did. But I also want to acknowledge that in that same interfaith group was a Baptist minister who not only told us that his commitment in life was to convert all of us to his view of Jesus, but who, after trying hard to be with us in relationship, and I have to give him a lot of credit, he did try, he finally dropped out of the group because his church and his understanding of religion didn't allow him to let us be who we were religiously, even though we were content to let him be who he was religiously. That dilemma again. And then there is the experience that I've had over and over again throughout my, you remember, 40 years long career, of people telling me that I couldn't possibly be a minister or take my religion seriously if I wasn't a fill in the blank, a Christian, a Jew, a Buddhist, a Muslim, etc. How many times I have had to explain to people, no, I am not a Christian, but I find powerful meaning in the Christmas story. No, I'm not Jewish, but like Jews, I believe that if God is anything, it is at its essence one. Trying to explain to people that I am a deeply religious person who claims a Unitarian and Universalist faith often falls on deaf ears. They just assume I'm something I'm not, either secular or something they can label as their kind of religion. And I can't tell you how many times back when I was doing weddings for pay, years and years ago, I would get phone call after phone call from people saying to me, we'd like a wedding, but we don't want it to be religious. And I would have to say, I'm a minister. Religion is what I do. Now, people really struggle to accept that you can be deeply religious outside of the mainstream religious lanes. And I hear a lot of Unitarian Universalists tell me that they hesitate to admit to people that they're religious or spiritual, or that they go to church for fear folks will assume they are something they are not. And some of this hesitancy emerges, I think, from our general unwillingness to stand up for our faith with people who believe differently. I think we sometimes take our respecting everyone's worth and dignity to mean we can't speak up when we disagree with another's religious beliefs. Now, I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister, and this even happens to me. There have been any number of times at Hospice House when I've let others think I'm a Christian minister simply because it's easier. Going through the whole, I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and this is what it means, and I'm not a Christian, but I love Christian, I'm fine with you being a Christian, not a Christian. That thing can get a little old after a while. But recently I've decided to be more proactive about saying what I believe, particularly in response to those who assume that I can't be religious unless I fit into some kind of religious box that they're familiar with. Now, what might this look like? Well, you'd think I'd know, since Jocko and I wrote the popular Unitarian Universalist curriculum, Articulating Your UU Faith. Anybody here taken it? I know it was taught here at some point. Yeah, there's a few folks out there. It's awesome, man. It's fabulous. No, just, people like it. Well, I get tongue-tied. Even I get tongue-tied when someone assumes that I'm a Unitarian Universalist and I can't be religious, or if I'm religious, I must be a Christian. So I return to my wonderful words in the course, and I was reminded anew of the importance of practicing your religion, of talking about your religion. And that's why we called this Articulating Your UU Faith. This isn't a building your own theology kind of curriculum. This is how do we talk about it with other people. And so, being out of practice, having not served a congregation for many, many years, I thought I should practice. So I'm practicing on you. Get ready. So here we go. I am a Unitarian in that I believe by whatever name we call the holy, it is at its essence one. I'm a Universalist because, and I love this line, I did not make it up, I found it, but I love it, because I refute the lie of hell Come on, folks. Refute the lie of hell. That's a really important one to remember. If you remember nothing else, remember that. Refute the lie of hell. And I believe that we all come from the same source and we share the same destiny. And as our new Article 2 that just recently was approved by our General Assembly at the Unitarian Universalist Association meetings, love lies at the center of it all. Love is the center of it all. I'm a Unitarian Universalist because both strands of my religion challenge me to make the world a better place by working for justice. I go to church because it is among people who share my commitment to diversity and inclusion, justice-making and community building, spirituality and humanism that I become a better person. Life is hard enough on its own. Sharing my life with others who help me become who I'm truly meant to be is deeply religious. Finally, I can, like Grace said so beautifully a few minutes ago, remind people regularly that the heart of our Unitarian Universalist theology is one of equity, is one of every single person being deserving of love and connection, of making sure that we all take care of each other, survive, and make space to thrive. Such beautiful words. Thank you, Grace. That wasn't so hard, was it? I bet you could do it. I bet you're going to remember one or two things that I said, and you're going to practice. Maybe downstairs during coffee hour, practice with each other where it's a little easier. But I'll tell you, the reason it feels hard is because our faith isn't based on, in the words of our hymn, narrow thought and lifeless creed. Folks tend to denigrate it. People in our lives will denigrate it, but sometimes we do it too. When Jocko and I were training worship associates years ago in our congregation in Maryland, we had to teach them not to apologize for their faith when they were standing up here, because it can happen so naturally. Let's talk about who we are and what we believe, not what we don't believe. Now, there's a lot more that I could say about this, as you might imagine. I wrote a curriculum about it. But in particular, let me just acknowledge that narrow-minded religion continues, has been doing this for centuries, doing it now, pushing through laws that denigrate our religious beliefs, as Grace mentioned in her statement. We need to work against those laws. We need to work against those religions who are going to denigrate ours. But I also want to keep a really positive statement right now as we end this sermon. I want to keep a positive attitude. So I want to conclude by reminding you, oh, dear friends, reminding you how beautiful and powerful our religion is. How it deeply changes lives for the better, your lives, my life. And how lucky we are to live out our beliefs in a beloved community that accepts us as we are, and yet does what I believe is the purpose of the religious life, which is to help us become who we are truly meant to be. I go to a Unitarian Universalist church almost every Sunday, something I've done pretty much my entire life. And even on Sundays when I've preached a blasé sermon or sat on a hard pew, hate those pews, I still look around me as I'm getting ready to go home, and I say to myself, by God, I love this church. I love this church. I hope when you leave here today, you'll do the same. And I love it when a song truly captures the essence of what really matters spiritually. Many years ago, Unitarian Universalist musician Peter Mayer wrote a beautiful song that emerged from his conversion to Unitarian Universalism from a more traditional Christian religion. Though that is not my experience, nor Jocko's, we both luckily grew up UU. Peter's experience heard in this song is worth a listen. and it's called Holy Now.
When I was young, each week, on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest as he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I went to Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. Well, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now.
Service this morning, we've been exploring and expressing how Buff is an important place for, it provides people a space in which to explore their own sense of what it means to be religious and what kind of actions that sense of being religious leads to, and it gives us all a sense of a community, a context in which to do that. But Buff cannot exist without your financial contribution. So as the ushers come forward and pass the basket down the pew, please give as generously as you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocko. I get to go home with the band. Well, as Tom extinguishes our flaming chalice, the symbol of our wonderful faith, let us remember that our religion matters as it challenges and supports us in becoming the best people we can be. Let us awaken our senses to the incredible gift of creation, honoring the green and holy earth, and let us reach out to each other in love, as our religion teaches us to do, circling round for freedom, our special way of closing that we do each Sunday. We'll make 1 or 2 rings, and we will then sing together. And if you don't know the hymn, it's 155 in the gray hymnal. Return in love. Amen.